Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. We're here today having coffee and talking about the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount, to me, when you talk about spiritual formation, is the key teaching that you need to have. We're looking at our main goal as a Christian is to do the things that Jesus taught us to do. That's just what we do. And if we're going to do that, we need to know what Jesus taught. And Jesus' teaching is no better represented than in the Sermon on the Mount. That's Matthew 5 through 7, chapters 5, 6, and 7. And we begin the Sermon on the Mount with the Beatitudes. And it has the word, I was taught the Beatitudes, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those. Really, the same word as blessed. We hear the word blessed a lot. But I want to talk about, before we start into some of the Beatitudes, I want to talk about the word blessed. Even in some Bible dictionaries, you look it up and it talks about, means happy. Happy is the person. And probably happy is the closest word we have to the word blessed or blessing. But when you really do a deep dive word search and word study on this, blessing doesn't really, happy doesn't do the word blessing justice. The word happy comes from the Latin root word hap, which means chance. There's a chance you can be happy. If all the circumstances are right and everything happens, you're happy. The problem about it is you can be unhappy. Within our language, a person's either happy or they're unhappy, but not so with blessed. Blessing is a state that you don't lose. If everything goes wrong, you're still blessed. And that's what Jesus is teaching his followers, that you'll never lose your blessing. Blessed are the poor in the spirit. We talked about that yesterday. Doesn't matter how much you know, whether you're part of the elite religious establishment or whatever, you're in and you're blessed. And you're never going to lose that blessing. No matter what happens, you don't lose it. Now, you can lose your joy, you can lose your happiness, but you can't lose your blessing. And that's huge. We talked yesterday about blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. The next one is blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Probably most everyone who's watching these videos have lost someone. If you live very long, that's part of what's going to happen in this life. You're going to mourn. I've lost my grandparents, I've lost my parents, and I've lost two brothers. And they hurt every time. I mean, you don't think about being happy during those times. But you can't be blessed during those times. Knowing that God's with you and knowing that no matter what, he's with you and life still makes sense. It's so hard when people lose loved ones. And if you're not a Jesus follower, it's very hard when you lose a loved one, because you're not sure what's happening, what's going to happen, and you're lost. But with Jesus in your heart, you know he's got you. Especially if that person was a Christian, you know where they're at. The Bible teaches that when we die, we're going to be with Jesus. And so we know they're okay and that they're actually better off. But mourning is a good thing. One of the things I find interesting in our society today is we don't like for people to mourn. We want people to just get over it. Well, we give them a time. We give them a week or two to mourn, and then they should be over it. And I can't tell you how many times in my 40 plus years of ministry, someone's lost a spouse or they've lost a child. And I can't imagine what that would be like. I haven't had to experience that. But they've hurt and they've been hurting. And people understand that. They're very sympathetic at first. They bring food. They or comforting like that. But after a while, I began to think, they need to snap out of this and get going. And I just go, you've mourned that person, but they have more to mourn. And the literature I read says it takes a good 2 years if you lose a significant person in your life mourning before you get back to life. But if you don't go through that mourning process, if you skip it, it will come out later in different ways. So it's very important for us to mourn. And Jesus says, if you're here today, and I'm sure he probably had thousands there at the Sermon on the Mount, there were people there who were hurting. There may have been people there dressed in their mourning clothes. He says, blessed are you who mourn. I still think he was doing some show and tell with people. I think he probably looked at some people who were probably dressed in mourning clothes and said, blessed are you who mourn, for you'll be comforted. You're not going to lose your blessing just because you're mourning. It's still there. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed. And I want you to know something. I like that word blessed. That it never leaves us. It's an incredible word, but it's a better experience. And it's one thing you almost have to experience to know. It's when God comes into your life, when you receive Jesus and you follow him, you know his presence. And his presence is a blessing. His presence is always with us. It never leaves. It's incredible. And I know that you're going to see people say, well, oh, happy is the person. But I'm telling you, it doesn't do it justice. Because there are times we may not be happy, but we're going to be blessed. I pray you'll be blessed today. Tomorrow we'll talk about some more of the Beatitudes, and as we continue through our journey through the Sermon on the Mount. I hope you have a blessed day. See you tomorrow.